Hey there, this is Ben from patternprofits.net. Want to do a quick weekend report and then get into some of the stocks I'm watching for next week. We're looking at the QQQ here, anchored VWAP off of the high. That's right where we closed on Friday. Still kind of stuck here underneath some of the moving averages, back above the 10, but below the 20, the 50 and the 65 here on the daily, but back above the neckline of the head and shoulders pattern, and a good close back above the volume shelf and point of control. So we'll be looking for this to make some continued upside, get out of the pinch here. This did serve as the swing low. So as far as individual stocks into next week, this group is well worth keeping an eye on. Futu, you can see here it closed again. We had a close right at the anchored VWAP from off of the high, as well as from off of the gap back here. So still serving as resistance. Looking for this to push through, get above the volume shelf point of control there. As it comes through, it turns these anchored VWAPs back up, may come back down and test, and then we look, up here to try to take out those prior highs. What is that? 204 and a quarter. So looking to get above here first, and then make a run towards those highs in the group. You also have Tiger. Same type of look here, still trying to push above the anchored VWAP from off of the high. Volume shelf point of control is just above with this one. And like I always say, watch for the ones that are doing something different. If you look at this QFIN, this is in the same group and it has a different look to it. This one's just below the highs here at 32 and a quarter. It's already pushed above the anchored VWAP off of the high and made some progress above the clouds, above volume shelf point of control, looking like it can tag a new high. Pretty much any strength from here. Closed Friday at 31.49. So yeah, wouldn't take much to push through that high at 32 and a quarter. So very strong group, and definitely want to keep your eye on those three into next week. Additionally, Mohawk. This one is in the pinch, but I like the inside day here on Friday. Gives you something to work with. It's kind of in between in no man's land, but you do have volume shelf point of control just below where that closed. 50, 65 cloud just below. 10 and 20 coming down from just above. So we'll have to see how this acts in the pinch. But I think if that inside day comes out, can give you something to work with, at least towards that anchored VWAP from off the high there. This is also a fundamental monster. The growth there on revenue and earnings is really, really strong looking ahead. Speaking of which, here's another one that's really strong on the FA side. Looking ahead, you have anchored VWAP from the gap a little bit higher, served as resistance on Thursday. Then you have anchored VWAP from off the high, which is right where it closed on Friday, but put in this little hammer. Relatively new name here. This is actually the IPO back here, and we're looking for this to kind of turn those anchored VWAPs from both the high and from the gap up as price, make some progress in there. If you bring this over, you can see volume shelf point of control just below, kind of a hammer there. So we look for that to take out Friday's high, which was 58. So over 58 maybe gets this running, and then you can look for a run back towards those prior highs, which are much higher, near 77. Another one I'll be watching next week, G Pro, and a lot of people asked me about this one over the weekend. It's an old favorite of many, or not favorite of many, depending on how you want to look at it. Big breakout back here. You have anchored VWAP from that breakout, kind of danced around it here, but did end up serving as support. Price has reclaimed all of the short-term moving averages, 10, 20, 50, 65. Nice run, good volume here. So you have 1119 above. What kind of makes sense to me, because this has come so far and is a bit stretched from both the volume, shelf, point of control, anchor view, but all of this is lower. If it comes up here and kind of puts a handle in, allows this to catch up a little bit, shakes out the last of the weak hands, and then you'd look for that push through 1119 for the breakout. Another one I want to, actually this one I just want to discuss. I'm just following up on this one because we talked about it the last couple weeks, and just looking at how this played out. We had this broadening formation. This did end up tagging that anchored VWAP from the gap, and it did serve as the bottom. Nice, making progress, just like we had discussed, towards that ascending trend line up here. So look for continuation there, especially if you did take it when we talked about it back last week. This did serve as the bottom, and now nice run there off of that low. That's love. Another one with solid fundamentals. iRobot. This I wanted to point out because we talk about how to trade these anchored VWAP pinches. So when you have the anchored VWAP descending off the high, it often acts as resistance. And then the anchored VWAP off the low that's rising often acts as support. So that's exactly what you saw here. Resistance here, support below, and kind of right in the middle of that pattern now. We'll see if this can reclaim what you want to see. If you got in down here, that's great. As you come up here, take a little bit off towards the anchored VWAP off of the highs. But eventually what you want to see is this breakout, push through that anchored VWAP off of the high, turn it up, come back and retest. That's a good entry for higher, and if you're trying to, capture the move back up towards those prior highs. I do feel like there's a big move coming here. You had big volume back here. Volume's gotten really quiet within this pinch and consolidation. So I'd look for a big move to come there. iRobot soon. DQ. Another one I've been asked about. This one, nice bullish outside day on Friday. It's also in the pinch from the breakout here and below. Anchored VWAP off of the high. You've got moving averages coming together here. So what you want to look for here is continuation on this bullish outside day. We get that continuation. You'll clear the anchored VWAP from off of the high, turn it back up, and then you can look for a target up here at those prior highs around 130. So that'd be a nice move. Still under 100 right now. So if we can clear that anchored VWAP off the high and get above the moving average clouds, I think we're in good shape there with DQ. Again, that's another one that quite a few people over the weekend were asking me about. All of those are from the focus list. Outside of the focus list, MGNI, this is one that I'm looking at from the anchored VWAP from the gap back here. Is serving as resistance. You see how we had a few days and the market rolled over. It's been below the anchored VWAP over the last few weeks. Now you're pushing right up against that level. Look for the reclaim there, either early in the week or depending on how the NASDAQ acts. You'll notice a lot of these look very similar to what we discussed with the QQQ, where the anchored VWAPs either off the high or off of the gaps up high, they're a lot of the stocks are right up against that as resistance. So strength in the Qs early in the week should get a lot of these pushing through, and that's kind of what you'd want to look for early in the week. So MGNY, one that's on my radar, as well as SI. And you'll see again similar type action. You have a descending trend line here that it actually cleared. Let me zoom in this a little bit for you guys. Descending trend line off of the high here. It actually cleared that late last week, but from the gap here, an anchored VWAP from off of the high here, both are declining and served as resistance both Thursday and Friday. You also have the 10-day moving average and the 20-day moving average right there. It's kind of in between both of those too. Nice support back here on the 50-65 cloud and a nice little run. So now you're looking for that continuation. Go ahead and push through those anchored VWAPs and make a run back towards those prior highs, which 187.86 was the high. So at 140, let's say, what was the high on Friday? It was 145. That would be a nice run if we can clear those anchored VWAP levels and challenge those prior highs. That's my watch list, what I'm looking at early in the week. Strength in the Qs should give us a lot more opportunities. There are a bunch of these that look similar right up against anchored VWAP from off the highs. So if we do get some strength early in the week, I may do another video midweek with some of the ones that have made some progress and dipped back. Hope you guys have a great trading week, and I will see you over on FinTwit.